Imagine sitting alone in a forest. No phone, no friend, no words. And a 400-pound gorilla walks toward you. You freeze. Your heart stops. Every survival instinct in your body is screaming at you to run. But the gorilla does not attack. It sits down beside you. And then it does something that will make every hair on your body stand up. It reaches out and it touches your hand. Not to hurt you, not to threaten you, because it can feel that something is wrong with you, and it wants you to know that it knows. Stay till the end, because what science has discovered about the emotional connection between gorillas and human beings will completely change how you think about what it means to feel pain, and who else on this planet might be feeling it with you. We spend most of our lives assuming that emotional pain is something uniquely human. Grief, loneliness, loss, the feeling of missing someone who is gone. We believe that only humans truly understand these feelings, that only we can look at another living being and genuinely feel what they are feeling. We are wrong. And the evidence has been sitting in the forests of Africa for millions of years, in a creature that shares 98.7% of our DNA, that lives in families, that grieves its dead, that comforts its frightened young, and that, in documented cases around the world, has reached across the enormous gap between species to offer something unmistakably human: comfort. Act 1. The family that looks like ours. Let us start with what most people do not know about gorilla social life. Gorillas do not live alone. They live in tight family groups called troops, usually led by one dominant silverback male. And within these troops, relationships are everything. A gorilla mother carries her infant for the first few months of its life almost constantly, day and night. She grooms it, protects it, sleeps with it pressed against her body. When a gorilla infant loses its mother, to illness, to poachers, to age, the response of the troop is not indifference. Other females in the group step in. They carry the orphaned infant. They groom it. They share their food. They let it sleep against their bodies at night. Researchers studying gorillas in Rwanda and the Congo have documented orphaned gorillas who were clearly in distress, withdrawn, quiet, refusing to eat, showing every behavioral sign of grief that we recognize in grieving human children. And the troop responded not by ignoring the distressed animal, but by gathering around it, sitting close, touching it gently, staying near until the behavior slowly shifted. They were not following a rule or an instinct they could not control. They were making a choice. The same choice a human family makes when one of its members is hurting. We call it compassion. And gorillas have been practicing it for far longer than we have had a word for it. Act 2. When a gorilla reads your pain. But here is where the story gets genuinely extraordinary. It is not just pain within their own species that gorillas respond to. There are documented cases from sanctuaries, research stations, and conservation centers across Africa where gorillas have shown clear, undeniable responses to human distress. At the Virunga Sanctuary in the Democratic Republic of Congo, caretakers who work daily with rescued gorillas have reported moments that are impossible to explain as anything other than emotional recognition. A caretaker who had lost a family member arrived at the sanctuary visibly grieving. One of the gorillas he worked with, an adult female, approached him slowly, sat beside him, and placed her hand on his back. She stayed there for several minutes without making a sound. This is not a trained behavior. It was not rewarded. There was no food involved, no signal given, no command issued. She simply read something in his body: the slumped posture, the lowered head, the absence of his usual energy, and she responded to it the way a friend would. And she is not unique. Multiple caretakers at multiple facilities have described similar experiences. A gorilla that becomes quiet and attentive when a human near it is crying. A gorilla that positions its body between a distressed human and the rest of the group, as if offering protection. A gorilla that holds eye contact with a grieving person in a way that feels, to every human present, like being seen. Science has a term for this capacity. It is called empathy. The ability to recognize and internally respond to the emotional state of another being. And it turns out that gorillas, our closest great ape relatives, are not just capable of it. They appear to extend it across the species boundary, to us. Act 3. What this means for who we are. Now, here's the part that connects this to something much bigger. Gorillas and human beings share a common ancestor, something that walked this earth millions of years ago, lived in social groups, depended on the group for survival, and needed, in the most practical biological sense, to be able to read the emotional states of the individuals around them. Because in a social species, emotional awareness is not a luxury, it is survival. An ancient group member who could not tell when another member was frightened was a danger to the group, because they might miss the early warning of a threat. A member who could not recognize grief might fail to support a bereaved mother who needed help caring for her infant. Empathy, in other words, did not evolve because it was kind. It evolved because it was useful. And that ancient system, the biological wiring that allows one social animal to register and respond to the internal state of another, is still running inside gorillas, and it is still running inside us. What gorillas show us is not just that they are more human than we thought. They show us something about what being human actually is. The capacity to feel with another being. The impulse to reach out when something near you is hurting. The instinct to stay close when someone cannot speak their pain out loud. These are not inventions of civilization. They are not products of language or religion or philosophy. They are ancient. They are biological. And they are shared across millions of years and across the boundary between two species, with a 400-pound creature sitting quietly in a forest in Africa. So here is what you now know that most people have never stopped to think about. The next time you feel like your pain is invisible, like nobody around you understands what you are carrying, like the weight of it is something you have to hold completely alone, remember this. There is an animal in the forests of Central Africa that has never spoken a word, never read a book, never been taught what sadness looks like, and it can still tell when something is wrong with the human sitting beside it. It can still choose to stay. It can still reach out. And it does. The gorilla did not learn compassion from us. We both inherited it from something older than either of us. Something that understood, millions of years before language existed, that the pain of one is the concern of all. You were never as alone as you thought, and neither were they.